Does anybody know when hurricane season starts off, just off the top of our heads?
June.
June? Okay. So
Yeah,
maybe
it's
seriously
June
some
through
sort of like
November.
months, maybe
June
some
to
sort of like
December now.
yeah, maybe like some
Yep.
sort of event or something to have that we could actually teach people how to take care of their homes and prep their houses and their yards.
It has changed since climate change, so it's
Yeah.
June to December now. It stretches.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know,
That's
if one of our
hurricane
goals is
season,
planting trees, maybe another goal should be helping to save the trees that we do have.
right? All right, here we got so those are the challenges. I'm trying to figure out which is my admin account, so that I can then make other admin's account. So please bear with me on that here.
As long as you don't rise to the fact that I'm eating dinner, bro, do your thing.
Awesome. All right, so here we got the login. Could you open up the link on your ends and try to sign in, or see if it lets you sign in, or what it tells you? And when you try to create an account, you might want to use your MetaMask wallet.
Yeah, I'm into it actually. On the other end, on the other side, it says "Welcome to Citizen Picmo." Share community, join community, discovery. I have a menu bar with a bunch of pictures that I had no idea what the hell the pictures mean.
All right.
If you click on the first one, the appvalues.co/community/oceans, that's the link to the community.
Okay.
This one here. We go to view the club, and then you come into the club, and you can see some of the rewards here. So I don't see. I've just tried to log in with my email. I also tried to log in with my Blue Economy Foundation email. Neither of them have given me an admin panel. So there needs to be something here that allows us to actually create modify the actions, right? Or to make the suggestions on the
Yeah,
action.
and then just on the back end of things, if we're doing unmonitored events, we have to have some sort of safeguards if people aren't just tricking us and trying to get rewards just to get the rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for plastics cleanups, I know that's a big one, right? And like how we handle that. And there's also a couple of elements of like not just how do we quantify, and this is something that I got from my conversation with the people in the volunteercleanup.org with Dave Dobler. I was asking Dave for some advice and like how we should create some metrics, right, around this. I thought I put it in the Blue Economy team, but
Yeah, I used to work with Dave and Dara.
so kind of what he's saying is that what Dave was suggesting is that there's a lot of other behaviors that we should incentivize besides just the cleanup, which is like, for example, do you sign a petition, right? Can you go and tell people to maybe not use plastic in a restaurant, or not use styrofoam in a restaurant or a cafe or somewhere that you go, right? And sort of document that, leave a note.
I don't like that, or I don't, honestly, bro, I don't like that idea. That to me seems like we're starting to be bullies. And that's not what we're about. We're not about going and telling people to change things. We're about inspiring people to change.
Sure. But I respect that opinion. I also just want to like honor Dave's years of doing this. And
well, honestly, me and Dave had it out. Well, not had it out, but we had a big difference of opinion about 2 years ago when they decided not wanting to put my cleanups up on their event because we started getting too big. So as much as he might be kumbaya, they're not so kumbaya.
Sure. Okay. Good to know. All right. So in any case, I believe that the quantification of the physical stuff is definitely like one of the obvious ones. One of the less obvious things I want to make sure that we can do is support the these social things, right? Like how many people, like these other social metrics, and think about how we incorporate them. right? So for example, how many people do we invite? Taking a psychological report of people. How do you feel after? Right. These are like really subtle things that we should try to even incorporate research around, right, with these cleanups. So we can try to back it with like some scientific vigor, right, or something that comes out of it. And folks that maybe answer these questions could get extra points, right, in terms of like how you feel, what made you think, what inspired you to go out there, being able to be rewarded by how many people you do invite, maybe to go to the next event, or there's other
No,
things.
I definitely think there should be some sort of reward for inviting other people and bringing other people in. 100%.
Yeah.
But it should also be one where we, not just inviting, but you certainly get credited if they actually join. So it's more
Yeah,
than
let me
invite,
rephrase that. You're 100% right. It's not the inviting part, because I can invite 10,000 people tomorrow. It's how many people are actually going to show up. It's the people that actually show up with boots on the ground, if you will, that you get credit for. I mean, every one of us probably has 5 or 10,000 friggin' social media followers. We could all hit that tomorrow and go, "Oh, quick, cool! Now I get a prize for 10,000 people." But it doesn't work that way. Also, creating events that involve kids bring parents, and they also bring friends, and sometimes friends' parents.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're able to see a little bit of the feel for this, for at least the bones, the bones we have for this mission. I'm going to go ahead and shine out. And I'm going to try to log in with my MetaMask now.
Do you get a different look that way?
I'm trying to show you the admin look.
Okay.
So that we can put some of these like challenges up. And then I want to also make you an admin so we can think about like how you can
Gotcha.
create the challenges. I've wrote it. I just joined again, and nothing with on the MetaMask side. I think I'm at a loss for where our admin account login information needs to be here.
Bro, you got some stress going on. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's also something happened is that we switched the platform from Central Stock Change to Values, and it's our partner. So I think maybe something like that happened along the way. So I'm gonna go ahead.
I'm available most of the day tomorrow. If you want to reach out, you figure it out and let me know. I'm good with that also.
Yeah. Well, this is that part. I'm gonna go and send in. Maybe Garrett, I'll send you an email.
Okay.
With some of that, right? With just maybe loop you into the conversation with some of these with the tech team.
Yeah.
If this is interested, I'll loop you guys into, and try to make just try to get that part ironed out. I'm gonna go ahead and just create a whiteboard then. Let me know. Do you see the whiteboard?
I do.
Okay.
Well, it's populating, but I see something coming.
Okay. Let me go ahead and close the this part out. Interested, I'll loop you guys in. And let me move this to my bigger screen. Okay. And now we'll look at the creation of this game. So let's add a couple of things here. So to start, let's say these are the actions on this side that we're trying to create, actions, right? Then we'll make another that says, all right, these are the rewards. Let's use this here.
I think we should focus on actions that we could actually monitor or somehow verify for right now, since everything else is kind of be more complicated.
Rewards. And then we got to think about maybe some mechanics, right?
Yep.
Think maybe diamond. There's actually a process chart, formal process chart, but think about.
I mean, even going back to Tortuga Fest, we all planted those sea oat things. That was a pretty cool little fun thing.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. I had never even considered that. The
Yeah,
sea.
and it was super easy, and everybody had a great time doing it. You know, we had to do something else around it. We can't just do that. It has to be part of something else. But yeah, it's a great thing to do.
Actions, rewards. What am I missing here? All right, well, we'll organize some of it later. So we want to make sure that, let's put some of these actions. So let's say beach cleanups. There's a couple different ways that you can do the beach cleanup.
All right, we can clean up anything. Beaches, friggin' the intercoastal, school grounds, church grounds, you name it. Everything needs to be cleaned at this point.
Can I put plastics cleanups, or is that too specific?
I think that's I wouldn't put that, because that almost means like maybe people think, okay, we're not cleaning up anything else that happens to be there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I do want to see, there's, so in the cleanups part, there's something that I want us to think about, which is there's a couple of things that can maybe fit under the cleanup that I think are like the type of cleanup.
Mhm.
One of the goals of this, I'd like, for example, is plastics eco credits, marine plastics credits. So we want to be able to actions, rewards, claims. Okay, let's put claims here.
We have to work on how we want to how we can restructure the way those plastic crates are set up right now. Because that 2.2 pounds recycled thing is not cool. It's
Yeah, I
very
like that.
disarming.
I like that point a lot. All right, run that by me again. The plastic that was on the
Yeah.
on the plastic.
The way, because we're doing something very similar with our beach cleanups right now already. I've been kind of looking into how to do that. And what I don't like about the way the plastic credits currently run is they're currently using the metric of 2.2 pounds recycled. And most people know at this point, I think the average state recycles about 5% of what's actually put in the recycling bins. So to say that we're guaranteeing that 2.2 pounds have somehow been recycled, to me, is a bold-faced lie and impossible to do. So we're trying to actually restructure or figure out a way to create, this is not a secondary version of these plastic credits, revalue them or remetric them, if you will. I'm not sure the right terminology, but to actually have it be 2.2 pounds of plastic removed. That to us is a way more honest approach to it all. You know, we can't guarantee that 2.2 pounds have been recycled. And if we're going by the average of only 5% is being recycled, how many pounds we have to put in before we get to 2.2 pounds? So yeah, we're trying to figure out a new way to kind of restructure or remetric, or we're not quite sure the terminology, but how do we kind of deal with that?
No, for sure, Garrett, you're putting your finger on a really key technical thing. So let me run with that a little bit, and thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't know that until you mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
This week. So there is a guide. Let me see, marine ecosystem. This is what I'd like to show us as a reference, and then actually we'll pull up Garrett's point. So what Garrett's talking about is what would be referred to as I
think it's just the standard metric to create those plastic credits right now.
Correct. It's a system of standards. And so what we need to kind of, one of the things which is it's just at large, actually, Garrett, one of the things that we are actually working on is standard setting, right? And I think it's really important to emphasize this here, because there's currently a lot of challenges around standards, not just with marine plastics, but just marine interoperability, marine biodiversity, marine blue carbon credits, marine eutrophication credits. And so one of our partners, the first NFTs that we donated for the blue economy, was part of this Oceans Drop challenge, right? And in the Oceans Drop, one of the things that came out of that was, how do we incentivize behavior for what are called marine protected areas, right? And in those marine protected areas, right? Let me see if I can do a quick share screen. In those marine protected areas that are really large in size, how do you create these standards, right? And so part of the game mechanics that we need to use in terms of citizen science is if you go into the we're going to the Notion. If you guys go into the Notion page for the Save Miami campaign, let me go ahead and switch to a screen share here for a minute. Just this issue is a big issue, right? So even if we don't make anything else, okay, make permanent collaborators. Even if we don't get a chance to tackle too much more, to try to keep this conversation tight to the top of the hour, and even if we just talk on the plastics credits, that could be a big win. In the plastics credit side, there's also something else that we need to take into consideration, which is bifurcated within the ocean community at large, which is, do you take what it's called inventory of the plastics, right, of the beach cleanups that we're doing? That means that when we do go ahead and clean the system, or clean the beaches, or clean our neighborhood, it says, do you want to continue sharing? You're able to close the whiteboard. We'll come back to the whiteboard. Let me go ahead and show you this.
Just to kind of touch on that point that you just kind of brought up, Silvio, to monitor the small cleanups is easy. When you get to the scale that we're doing 280 miles per pop, it's impossible. You have to have people monitoring over 250 different checkpoints, which basically is just almost impossible. So it's more self-monitoring at that point until we actually have our app done, which we'll start be able to count stuff at that point. But for right now, it's more just a self-monitoring thing, unless we do the smaller cleanups where we actually have people that are kind of monitoring what's going on. Oh,
so one of the standards. Go ahead. Finish it.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of the cities that I've run into problems with so far, if we were to set up these checkpoints, would be they want actually to have event fees, permitting fees, whatever else. Some of you guys know I got into a huge fight with the city of Lauderdale by the Sea. Right, they try to fine me for doing the beach cleanups, and that same thing will happen every time we try and actually put a permanent structure or anything up for a cleanup.
Anytime we do what?
Anytime we set up an actual booth on the beach, like an actual running booth for something, monitoring station, whatever it may be, they're going to want a permit fee.
How much is that permit fee?
I don't know. I refuse to pay their permit fees to clean their beaches, which is why I got in the fight with them in the first place, at least up here, and I ended up winning.
Yeah.
But
Fuck their fee.
No, I think I think that's a really interesting challenge. Maybe one of the things that we try to solve for or bring our heads together, especially when we look to expand this game very specifically with City of Fort Lauderdale or other of the towns there, is to think about those friction points, right, with the community that are basically preventing good stewardship, right? And so maybe part of the game is that if you do download the game and you sign into the game, maybe we can automate the permit process simply by showing up to play the game. You see what I mean? So we can incorporate, hey, here's these things, and now you signed in. Maybe you earned just for signing in because you literally maybe apply for a permit as part of the process. So we can incorporate those mechanisms into this. One of the things that we're doing in the green economy game, for example, or an opportunity that we have identified, bringing the green economy tree planting game to Miami, also another friction point with the I think it's the Million Trees program or the Parks and Rec program, and that point was that do you hear any background noise on my side?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. So we can incorporate this thing about the permitting. So thank you for pointing that out, Garrett. And as we find other obstacles, would be really good. That's why I want to see who might be able to, if we can have someone from our team come and spend some time with Sophie Ringel. Sophie Ringel came to the Logos Blue Economy conversation. We used to have a bi-weekly meetings with the Logos Blue Economy Club. And we wanted to highlight her work because she takes the trash and then she turns it into art, right? And so we wanted to turn that into part of the art that we can auction off with our monthly NFT drops, right? So not only is she hosting an event that has hundreds of people come out every, multiple times a week, but she also then transforms or upcycles that trash into art. There's a lot of issues around, I think, standard settings, and we need to figure out what are some of the credit and how do we design these marine ecosystem credits, and how do we use the oceans game and citizen science, in this case, we're just incentivize people to help us figure this out. A little bit of like decentralized science amongst all of us so that we can figure out what are the standards that are really the best practices. And like, it's just like one, it's like everybody's kind of proposal coming together. And these create the financial mechanisms that can ultimately later on, right now, this is just research and development social token. But the idea is that as we continue to do this community stewardship, we'll come up with insights that allow us to understand the different types of marine credits that are out there and how to start to connect our oceans tokens with actions that allow for the standards that now enable us to claim these types of credits. And so there's two types of general credits when it comes to eco credits. Protection, you have two types of behaviors that you're trying to incentivize in your actions, either protection actions or restoration. And please, anybody feel free to interject. I don't want to be lecturing here. I can't help it. Sorry, but I just really want to share a little bit of the thoughts, some of the opportunities and assets that we have, because effectively it's oceans tokens on one side and marine ecosystem credits on the other side, right? And then between those, there's different conservation, protection, and restoration actions. And maybe this helps, this framework, the scientific framework, categorization of conservation actions, help us maybe create a better framework to understand how we need to think about the creation of this game through these different lenses or these different words. And the idea here is that, right, when you mix these things together, you're able to sort of stack the credits and make the most of them all together, right, in different ways. So the fact that we use sort of one protocol and we have the idea of using multiple eco credits itself is its own challenge, but at least, it kind of helps us at least organize the community at large to say who can focus on what effort. For example, plastics credits, like just within our community right here, I've been saying, how can I use, let's say Priscilla can be the lead for the biodiversity credits, maybe with art, okay? So Priscilla understands corals and the value of corals and is using art for the corals. We can issue a coral NFT, part of our coral drop series, that maybe is just for, I don't know, let's say Palm Beach, okay, where Priscilla gets another award or wherever. And so now, or maybe another place where she does not yet have an award, where we can pre-fund that award. But let's say in this case, Priscilla, you want to jump in and talk about some of the work that you've done already with your corals, and maybe, I don't know if you want to do a quick screen share that talks a little bit about that. If you want to come on deck, just raise your hand on the screen when you're ready, and I'll just keep going here. But so let's say we'd say these different types of credits here, we need different folks to sort of maybe think of how we connect the oceans token to that credit. The goal with here, there you go. Thanks, Priscilla. With Garrett, I'd like to say, hey, Garrett, let's think about cleanups. But, Garrett already has even more technical knowledge already about the standards than even myself, which is super valuable here, which is, all right, well, there's this issue he's identified around the standard settings that make sense and that don't make sense for us in South Florida, right? Super important, right? Because of something that we can't control. But the citizen science tool in the game, the mechanisms with the oceans tokens, should line up with a standard that we think this does make sense. And if we don't, and so we, part of this goal is maybe even researching which standards are out there. So if Gary, you can cite some of those and drop them maybe now or later, that'd be super helpful. So we have a, we can bring the research universities that we're partnering with to support our research, right? Our science, the science part of this game, right? All right. So the plastics credits that you identify, you can remove tons of plastic from marine circulations, right? So protection, what do you do how do plastics credits help protect? They don't really help. How do they help restore? Well, they help remove plastic, right? And that gives you an idea of how they work. Biodiversity credits, they can help protect for protecting habitats with high biodiversity indices and endemisms, like in Cocos Island, and then reinsertion of species, other restoration efforts, and how the biodiversity credits could be claimed for the difference between a restoration effort, right, versus a protection effort. All right. So that being said, And then we have other schemas, effort-based schemas and outcome-based schemas. So this is generally the framework that I think we might want to adopt as a group to work from. Again, this is not set in stone. It's just my proposal, but it's very it allows itself to make us as a collective ready to be scientifically rigorous. And then for the game, while we have different actions in the game, part of the actions is maybe having somebody, let's say a Garrett with a booth, right? Or some kind of permit that we need to request, the judge, if you will, that can help people come and claim and anchor the community around the games and the credits as it makes sense. Is my laptop about to die? All right, Priscilla, you want to go ahead and take the screen share for now? Let me see if I can, if I need to enable permission here, and I'll go ahead and plug my laptop in. Priscilla, you have the floor.
Okay, you want me to, I'm on my phone right now, so I can't really screen
You can
share.
just talk about it, or I can look up something if you want.
Okay, projects like I've done with Climate Future is an NFT project that per NFT goes towards a mangroves planting. So you could check out the project at nftrees.miami. It goes straight into the marketplace that's located at the OpenSea. That is one way that we could actually, give away also NFTs for every participant that actually, kind of like the way we did, Garrett, like with the eco exchange, the girl, like that little girl, you know what I mean? So like at the end, we could either incentivize her with a NFT there is a value. I mean, for anything that's want to be backed up by the dollar versus that, maybe we can get like organizations like we dealt with, like Guy Harvey's foundation, and have like gift bags, you know what I mean? So that people are getting introduced to products in placement for what they use on a daily basis.
Yeah, I have a good connection with Guy Harvey already.
Yeah,
so I
with
can always do
all of
that.
them, like Raw Elements, and you know what I mean? Like Sirens is coming out with a whole entire product line as well for next year. So, it's just introducing new products as well, as well as some digital assets. That's one thing for sure. I mean, you could check out also Sea Sirens on OpenSea. I have a collection up. I haven't like released the NFTs yet, because right now we're thinking about working on building a community before even dropping it. NFT files, that's our main concern. So that's one way, but what we have decided this past year is how we could actually fractionalize some of these reefs so that everyone can have an opportunity to own portions of it, resell it as well. Going as well with the kind of like the adopting the coral NFTs, so that we actually can propagate on the reef, the coral. So that's like add to a second layer, tokenizing that. So that goes with your ocean token, you know what I mean? What you were saying, Silvio. And from there we can as well give incentives to ecotourism. So then let's say when we have like locations, could be spread out, different locations in the world. I mean, we could start off obviously here in Miami. There's so many ways that we could actually go forward with this. Somehow in the Panhandle, it's easier going down the West Coast. My theory is because if you ever dove in the West Coast, it's a different experience. There's really not a lot of reefs out there. It's kind of very interesting diving experience, diving in the West Coast versus the East Coast, and then the Keys. But it's been a kind of a little bit of a challenge down here in Miami, but I feel like if we go the correct route, and it's not really like, oh, let's just drop reefs right here, it doesn't work like that. It's a different it's a different game when you're doing a deep reefs, like let's just say a 60-foot deep reef versus something that's a shallow reef. Totally different game. Totally. So I believe in Palm Beach County, it's a little bit easier than Miami, meaning like Broward County and Dade County. Broward being way easier than Dade. So, and when as far as propagating corals, I know that Dade County is very, very strict when it comes to coral planting. They don't allow certain species to be planted. That's more of the Coral Restoration Foundation departments that I've dealt with, and a lot of the Revolution, some of the companies I dealt with, and Ocean Rescue Alliance knows as well. So, but I trickle down with the Coral Restoration Foundation more, so to understand why they have very kind to me, and I mean that's where I see it as well, like earning as well. Going every time you're seeing a reef, maybe having some sort of a scan of the location or scanning a reef, and you could maybe tokenize it for the visit. You know what I mean?
There's got to be some sort of way to do it, and scanning might work. We used to monitor what they're doing. Everybody say, "Oh yeah, I was at the reef."
Yeah, I mean, I've done for one of my projects, the one that's in the Panhandle, I actually did do a QR code for my piece that is underwater. So that
I wonder if
works.
there's a way to do some sort of LED screen with a constantly changing code. That way you can't take a picture and just share it.
That's interesting.
Interesting point. So let's I'm just taking a couple of more notes. Eco credits. All right, so we can think about, we'll circle back on this concept of what is some of the best standards that we should consider for plastics credits or other types of eco credits. Currently, let's say plastics eco credits. And so, and then Garrett, if you can come in, if you're not on the Notion, are you? On the page?
What's that?
Yeah, we can think of like maybe referencing this research later, but plastics eco credits we have found. Or Garrett, let's put reference Garrett.
Also,
Garrett,
I was
what's your
going to
last
say
name?
just the last thing. The last thing I was going to say, the Coral Restoration Foundation, starting in June, they will have an abundant amount of corals that they need to propagate, and they're desperately looking for volunteers. That's something that we could add as well to our team or even our community for us to.
Yeah, I would love to do that. That sounds like a blast.
So, and that could be a huge way to earn credits, you know what I mean, right there. Like maybe we could double up the credits for that trip, especially if we are going to go carpool, if we carpool there. So.
Yeah, so we gotta figure out a way to kind of get the cities involved. I think this is a you and me thing, since we both have the better government connections, is to try and figure out a way to get the cities to waive or give us some sort of Scantron or that QR code to get free bus fare. If the volunteers are going out to help the city for the day, they shouldn't be responsible for paying for the bus to get there. And it costs them nothing to let the volunteers on the bus. The bus is already running. So if we can figure out a way to kind of do that, I think it'll help to incentivize people not taking their own cars for the day, a little bit more environmental friendly type of way. And again, I don't think they would have much of a problem with it. We just got to get to the right person with it.
That's an excellent point. And we could probably talk to Triple C in Miami-Dade County. So I'll put Triple C conversation. What we should do is try to have this game a little mapped out. One of the 3 games that we are focusing on is Mike Lingo's game for just public transit or being able to commute together, right? How do people focus on commuting and being rewarded for commuting? I think Gino mentioned a protocol that actually helps with that. And then so this maybe our soulbound NFT is able to connect to not just the oceans game, but also the tree game and
Yeah,
ultimately
because
this
it's
missions
all
game.
it's all encompassed in the same day's activities. You know, you're taking the bus to the beach, you know, or the cleanup area.
Yeah.
You're doing whatever, you know, activity there. You're taking the bus back. You know, it all encompasses under the same umbrella of activity for the day. So there's got to be a way to tie it all in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is kind of the way to do that. And to your point, I know that the county does want to reward people to take public transit or to encourage taking public transit. I think we can make that happen. So if you can hold me accountable to that, maybe we can draft a little email.
Yep.
Or if you send it my way, or we can ask ChatGPT or something, and I'll send it over to Carlos. He think he's the best person, and Galen, which has been our liaison with Miami-Dade County.
All right, and I'll send it
And to
over
help
to
us out.
the state reps and the Broward Commission I got over here, and yeah, so we can
If
get
you
that
want,
accomplished
if
really
you want
easily.
support, if you want support with Broward, we could probably get I'll loop in Greg Taffet into the email, right?
Okay.
And then we can use that template, and you can have Greg. Okay, we can lean into him and connect and say, hey, Greg, please, just like I forwarded to these two guys, Greg can forward it to the CIO and the city manager for City Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, I know those
then-
guys.
and then-
I already know those guys. I know the city manager. I know the mayor. I know the Broward delegation. I
Who's the
know friggin'
transportation
both state
under?
representatives in the area.
Who's
Yeah,
the public transit?
I'm completely connected with the Broward government.
Broward County? Is it transportation under Broward County government, or is it under City of Fort Lauderdale? Who are the buses?
It's going to be both, I think. I think there's a little bit of both because the same Broward commissioners are part of Fort Lauderdale's government. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That Broward delegation in conferences, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale and the commissioners. So that same group that would pull one trigger would be able to pull both.
Right, exactly. Okay. So then that being said, I think what make the most sense, Garrett, is Garrett email requesting public transit credits for the Oceans.
Yeah, I'll handle Broward. You want to handle Dave, bro? We got this.
And then we'll say that we'll send an email. Silvio will forward to Triple C and GT, Galen Shore, in MDC, Miami-Dade County, and loop in Greg to forward to Fort Lauderdale CIO and city manager. And then we'll send, and then if you want, Garrett, he'll copy you. And then if you want to send the same email to the mayor, if you know the mayor.
Yeah.
Copy
it's all the
Dan.
same office. They're all in the same office. The mayor, the city manager, all those guys are all in the same office.
Right. So it's just the way that it's just the politics of maybe how emails work for government.
Yeah.
If our old wisdom keeper is able to lean into his two tight relationships directly.
What position does he have in Fort Lauderdale or Broward?
My COO?
No, the guy you're talking about that's going to help out in Broward.
Greg is my
you mentioned
COO.
his
He
name.
doesn't have Greg is our COO. He's just very good friends with the city manager and the CIO.
Oh, okay.
So he was a former CIO of US Gas and Electric, and he runs IT Palooza. He's just like, he's been around. He has a lot of cred with those guys.
Yeah.
And then if you can, then loop in. I don't know if we'll circle back. Maybe we'll have that communication of like how we optimize the email chain there.
Yeah.
But that gives us 2 counties, and I think Priscilla's in Palm Beach. Priscilla, is that right?
Yeah.
So maybe we think
Barely, but yeah.
Yeah, I am in Palm Beach.
and then maybe we think about who we should communicate to enable public transportation in Palm Beach.
Yeah, I mean, public transportation in Palm Beach is really bad. Really bad. It's probably the worst out of all, just because there's really not enough at all. And I mean, I'm in Boca, so it's just like really we only see buses like going like north southbound on Federal. I mean, very limited. Town Center Mall, like it's so
Yeah, I don't know how
limited.
the frequency and date is, but for Broward and Palm Beach, it's literally 1 stop per hour. Like they get to like if you're on the corner of X, Y, and Z, they'll come to you once an hour. It's not like a 15-minute stop, and every time
Yeah.
it's 15 minutes another bus comes through. It's literally once an hour you see the bus.
It's once an hour, exactly. And then there's, I think, very limited, even in Town Center Mall, people to go to the center. It's just like, I think it stretches beyond that. I think it's like 1 hour. If you miss that one, it's an hour and a half. I don't know. I have to find out, but it's
You know,
something
they're
ridiculous.
awful. If you actually had a job and had to friggin' somehow manage your life based on the public transportation here, you'd be in deep trouble.
Okay, so let's circle back for a second on these credits. Eutrophication, I think, is like water cleaning, carbon credits. Like maybe we'll just take a pause. Maybe I can leak it like you on the biodiversity. Priscilla, I want to plug you into FAU.
Yes, for sure. The Bright Line though stops now in and off of Yamato. I mean, I'm sorry, right off of Meisner Park, which is eastbound, which is great. You know, that has happened this past year, so that's a
Yeah.
huge part.
I know for sure Brightline wants to incentivize their trips, so there might be something there for sure. And remember, they also do the complete eco package where if you pay the VIP thing, they actually come and send a Tesla to your house. It is exorbitantly expensive, but they will send a Tesla to your house, pick you up, and drop you off at your location on the other end.
So I have a contact at Brightline. Does anybody else?
No.
Okay, wants to incentivize user transport. Okay, so well, I can also reach out to them and see what they can throw into the mix for us.
Yeah, even if we have to do something where we kind of not beautify but help clean up sort of their areas, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The guy I know there, it says it's Patrick Goddard. He's the president. And then there was a guy called Aaron D'Angelo. I have Aaron D'Angelo's cell phone number and Ben's cell phone number. I don't know if those two guys are there. You can hold me accountable to that. Maybe after this call, when we get that email out, right? Just if someone can just make sure we hit those points. And then, yeah, I think that kind of gives us this. I guess for next steps, what we'll do is I'll send Loop in an email and to try to get admin access to whoever's interested in getting that admin access to the Oceans Tokens site. And well, I'd like to incorporate, Priscilla, can you talk a little bit more about coral scanning really quick on what you've done with the coral scanning?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, what you're mentioning about trying to incentivize scanning of corals somehow?
Sorry, there's a lot of noise. I can't hear you. Say that again.
Coral scanning. You mentioned you were doing coral scanning.
Oh yes. So I live pretty close to a lab right here. It's like literally in the back of my house, and they have offered we can go and kind of take a not invasive scan, like a high definition image, and so that we can actually turn into an NFT, right? The problem is that everything that's in this lab, the majority of the corals there are basically all sorts from all around the world, a lot of South Pacific corals, which we wouldn't be able to propagate here in Florida because it wouldn't survive. But let's just say hypothetically we have like a scan of like a staghorn or an elkhorn, right? And we could actually manipulate by design, then we could actually have a series of that specific corals so that we could actually sell it as an NFT, let's just say, or whatever, as a digital asset, so that we could actually propagate that coral. That's as far as scanning, right? Scanning reefs is another thing. We are the goal is to do that soon. I mean, we have the equipment next like at our location. It's just a matter of having the time to actually do it correctly, we could scan a whole entire artificial reef and then delegate exactly as far as portions, breaking up into, um, fractionalizing so that we could actually be able to sell as far as, like, let's say property, and then be able to propagate in certain areas. Like I said, it'll be like a second layer, which is actually really fun. It's a fun project. It's something that kids can be involved too, because like we could do smaller models, right? And then teach and then scan it, and then it's almost like a math problem. That goes to when the STEAM department. And going back to kids, I mean, that's like, Douglas and I both talk about that all the time. It's a great way to instill education within the community by, doing outreach programs, especially with children. So going back to the scanning, those are a couple of ideas and things that can be done and have been done.
I think the quality of the scan is what's important. And I believe that Google has some quality scans, but the granularity of them were not really great. So we were trying to identify who has the best granularity. And from what my research has yielded, we were looking to do that fractionalization of corals that exist so we can create coral stewardship. We digress a little bit of like all the oceans tokens, biodiversity credits, and now, sort of the coral drop NFTs, but I think it's very similar. Right? So we need to create a high quality digital twin of the corals that are out there. And then we need to do that maybe somewhat often so that we can really monitor the status, right, of that coral as we're trying to take care of it. And then do ideally like a 1-for-1 so we can continue to, here we go. So we can continue to maybe extend the coral bed, right, wherever it exists.
I think a good way to show something tangible too is just like when you tag the coral, like, you could actually tag, with the number, the tagging, like whatever SKU you want to use. And as well, we could actually give it like an adoption name, by the owner, whatever, so that there's some sort of like, like you said, like a stewardship, so.
So this is the map. We should probably post this into, let me put this here. And we'll put oceans. And then we'll put coral drop. The corals. Coral drop. And tools. This could be one. Just figure out where our mapping is. And then for the mapping, this is kind of what some of it has looked like. They're the ones that have done something like that. And I do think they did a really great job doing this. Our partners in Australia. And we're really big supporters of what they can do and how we can help them. But they have emerging tech, and they're basically created this scanner that's one of the best scanners in the world for their device, and it helps create like the most granular detail for a coral, and that we can find really. And it doesn't show much here on the website, but I don't even know if maybe this is the same. This might not even be the same guy. Might not be the same person. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, yeah, this is the team. Okay, you see that machine? This is the glider with flying fish technology. So this is it right here. And I'm trying to see how we can get our hands on one or lease one or rent one or like get one over here. And it allows the time that we scan, the high resolution detail of the scan for the coral to be better than anything else, and on how it works. And this is with flying fish tech, right? So it's called a reef survey. right? So we can do better resurveys. There's a father-son duo. This is the dad. They're actually a third generation family, I think, that have been protecting the corals for a long time. So they take the 2D data stream, and then they're able to use machine learning data analysis for reconnaissance. And then they take this mapping of satellite overlays and fine scale seabed to create a digital twin for asset management, maintenance, planning, and put them into our Miamiverse. So as we create the Miamiverse, right, we can use this detail and we can find out what's already there. We don't even, to not reinvent the wheel. We'll start off with what's here. The opportunity that I see in Fort Lauderdale, in Boca, and with Priscilla and my friend Art, is the opportunity to use that robot. And then now for that robot, this is already going to be scanning a lot of the reef. That robot actually goes and zaps the lionfish, and then it sucks in the lionfish. So if we can scan what it looks like with the lionfish and afterward a couple of times, right? Then my guess is that it increases the biodiversity in the water. And when it increases the biodiversity, because now you have less of an invasive species, you're able to claim the biodiversity credits, right? But in the meantime, just every time that you launch that robot, you should get a credit. Anybody that contributes to the machine learning to train that robot on identifying some of the stuff, maybe you can earn an oceans credit, right? And so biodiversity, if you partition the marine ecosystem class in general, biodiversity is a hugely important part of this, as you can see here in the screen, that we really want to consider as stackable between these carbon, social, plastics, biodiversity credits to make sure that they're dynamic. The eco credits part of particularly. But I think we can start to pilot it. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Priscilla's close right next to the FAU campus. Our friends are contributing to this robotics game. But I like to say, okay, let's get the marine biodiversity credits aligned with our coral drop. Let's get eutrophication and carbon credits aligned with our mangrove drop. And then the ocean drop basically becomes like a local city project, right? Local community project or whatever the case may be. So without that being said, I'll take a pause here and see if you guys have some questions and thoughts. I think that was like the big idea, and we're over the hour mark. And this is the other thing is practitioner, verifier, and issuer. So depending on the oceans game, we need to think about which one is this, right? Who is like when you log in as a user, are you log in as the issuer of the carbon credits? Let's say, in this case, it's Good Times. Let's say Good Times Foundation, right? Our partner with Garrett in Fort Lauderdale. Let's say Good Times Foundation is the issuer, right? Or maybe the Blue Economy Foundation is the issuer. I'm not sure what the rules are. And Blue Times Foundation, and then Good Times is the practitioner. We got to think about sort of those. How do you connect the system like that to figure out who's playing what role? And so let's just go for the sake of conversation. Say, hey, when Good Times hosts an event, you need to have maybe one Blue Economy Foundation member sort of act like a verifier, right, or something like that, right? Or who becomes issue. So these are little details we can get to. I'd love for you guys to check it out. It's all on the page, and then we can bring them together, right, with scientific monitoring and figure out other ways, besides just the cleanups, to reward, right, contributions of the science really that we're trying to do here with this open architecture. Do you guys have any thoughts on that so far?
I don't think until we have what the rewards are going to be and know what the actions are that we're going to verify. I think what you've laid out is pretty basic and fundamental to what needs to be done. So we really need to fill out those different activities and the rewards or incentives that we grant players.
I can put a few rewards.
Yeah, exactly. And just to further that note, we should also identify location, because obviously location has a lot to do with what rewards are given, considering a lot of the rewards are business based.
Okay. So let me use.
Well, that's for sure. Like if we have, like there are certain beaches that I've been to for a cleanup, let's just say hypothetically, like off of Linton, it's like pristine. And then which I had which I was kind of like confused because I thought that was like the beach that there's a lot of druggies that goes there. And like I'm talking about like, you know, heroin addicts and things like that. And it's not, they moved up to another area. So there's more syringes on the beach on the Atlantic. But, and then you'll be surprised, you go to Spanish River Beach, it's like filthy, you know? So it's be nice to know where are the ones that, what beaches we should hit up, you know?
I think that has to do with our community action board that we're going to be creating. That will include locals, like in community, some sort of community advisory board that can tell us, hey, you know, we have an issue here, so we can actually attack it. The best way to kind of do it, I was mentioned to Sylvia already, is that we should create some sort of a community action board consisting of, you know, different community leaders, you know, possibly some people that could help make decisions, government type officials or whatever, that could all come together. That where is an issue like that, where say, hey, you know, we have an issue, this beach is dirtier than this beach. We could then, okay, what can we do to fix it? How do we fix it? You know, if there's any red tape government wise, we could cut right through it because the government guys are right there already. And yeah, I think that will have a lot to do with the creation of that board.
I love that question. Let me just go ahead and make sure I capture that idea. Priscilla, can you run it? Can you run that one more time? Is identifying, we're talking about identification of prioritization of areas, priority areas.
Yes. The importance of identifying the priority locations that have higher pollution and the ones that actually have had previous cleanups so that we don't go to those locations. So something that would actually collect.
That's smart, yeah.
Like a punch in, punch out kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this area has been cleaned last week. Don't go to this beach. You know what I mean? So that we don't waste our time too. That's our carbon as well. You know, carbon footprint. So like for me, I did this last time on our last beach cleanup thinking that, oh man, let's go there because I know that there's a serious issues. And guess what? They just did a beach cleanup like 2 days prior. So what, you know, information that could have been useful, you know?
Yeah, I've been trying to get all the foundations on the same page for a while. It's like herding cats. Is the best way I can kind of describe it. But I have been trying to get everybody on the same page as far as cleanups and when they'll be, and do some sort of not standardized, because obviously there's not national, but at least sort of local standardized sort of thing with that. So I'm in the process of trying to at least sort of figure that part of this out.
That makes a lot of sense, guys. I love that idea. It's something really practical that I think everybody can really benefit from. And in fact, that's another reason to maybe go back to Dave Dobler and try to say, hey, Dave, are you doing anything that because you're coordinating all these pickups? Is there one way that we can use that network to update the log of where the cleanups are happening?
Well, I think it's almost, it goes to just making a coalition of all the foundations and getting everybody to create almost like a global Google Calendar, if you will. And it's basically could be something that simple where everybody just has a calendar where everybody, hey, we're doing a cleanup today. You know, anybody else doing that cleanup today, you guys can come and, team up or whatever. If not, nobody else doing the cleanup today, let's support the other cleanup, post it, market it, social media, whatever. And if we can actually create this coalition of foundations, which I'm getting closer and closer to doing, I have a bunch already that are on board, then that'll take care of that problem right then and there.
Yeah, like I have communication with Boca State's beaches. So like, for instance, if I know that they're going to go based on their posts or their newsletters, like I won't go to that beach. What's the point? Again, like having a whole group of people, volunteers showing up to the beach and they're like, why are we here? Meanwhile, one beach down is like filthy. Like it's a waste of time, like I said. So this would be very useful.
I've been working on this one for a while, guys.
Yeah,
getting closer.
Yeah, let me go ahead and double down on that. I think it's a good important point here. And it is really this is a coordination issue. So if we're able to better ask for data, then I think that would be really helpful. And maybe that becomes a reason why other multiple groups work together with us with this mechanism, right? So that maybe we could create maybe a visualizer, right? A way to visualize what locations were done. And then that maybe can help other groups independently coordinate their own thing. But how I think about this is a bonding curve. It's basically saying, hey, if you show up to a beach cleanup that was cleaned yesterday, you get 1 token. Okay? Versus if you showed up to a place that hasn't gotten a cleanup. If you show up to a place that hasn't gotten a cleanup in like, a year, you get 100 tokens. I don't know. You know what I mean? Say like something like that. So that can
Thankfully, thanks to the Better Days Foundation, nothing doesn't get hit more than at least once every 3 or 4 months.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's a good one. But I think those are a lot of good points right there. And like we said in the beginning, some of the social things that maybe aside from also cleaning is just that sort of upstream, some of those issues. So I'll take a pause here. If there's anybody else has some words of wisdom here that they'd like to contribute. I think we've covered a lot of ground and got in pretty deep down the weeds of some of the quantitative elements, challenges, legal challenges, some rewards. And does any, just to go back on the reward side, is there anybody that can think of kind of rewards that we should be adding in here, or have other friends or companies that could throw in a few rewards? I have one friend that has a sailboat, another friend that has a tourism company.
Yeah, I think that goes back to just identifying where we want to do whatever thing we're doing first, because a lot of those local businesses are down to help out. We just got to identify the area and then go talk to them.
Okay, what's an interesting reward, do you think?
Even just discounts at restaurants, 15 or 20% off a restaurant. Everybody was saving money. And it's such an easy one to do. I'm telling you, most of the restaurants are down for it. Everyone I've talked to, 90% of them said yes so far.
Okay, so let's definitely add discounts at restaurants. Great work with that, Garrett. What else?
Product. Once we have sponsors, we can start giving product away, but we don't have any sponsors yet, so that's kind of a mood issue.
How about like dive shops and things like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like a discount, maybe we could work out something with them.
Yeah, it's just discounts. Yeah, that's a little bit harder because it starts to cost them money. Restaurants doesn't really cost them any money thing to give them away 15% or 20%. So it's a little easier for them to say yes. But any business that could possibly give a discount, on a good or service is technically a potential reward.
So let me go ahead. Yeah, good important points to consider. For Priscilla's point, maybe it's nonprofits that go diving together, right? So we can have like a boat, like let's say University of Miami or somewhere in the Keys. People are looking for volunteers to go, so we can offer still a free dive trip, right? Like a free coral dive trip of some sort. And maybe you have to work yourself up to that. And by the way, not only do you, when you claim the dive trip, you get to use your coins. Maybe you also just earn. You claim Oceans tokens. Maybe you earn Oceans tokens too. I'm not sure how we can think about that, but that's definitely one that I think we can do.
Maybe this is a stupid point to make, but it's something I think we should
really
definitely.
Want to do.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Stupid points are important.
Yeah, I think we should have
Yes.
some sort of qualifier where we ensure that the guys that are signing up for these scuba and excursions in the water could actually scuba dive. I know that might sound stupid, but just for liability reasons, we should have some sort of make sure that they're qualified enough to do what we're asking them to do, so we don't get somebody in trouble.
Yeah, well, you have to be certified.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, aren't there different levels of certification? Like sometimes you could just do something or not other things. I don't know anything about scuba diving. I don't go scuba diving at all. I'm just saying we should make sure that people are actually able to do what they think they say they could do.
Yeah. Well, they have to.
Okay, that brings up a good point. So to claim, you have to qualify for certain rewards. right?
Yeah, 'cause
And
I mean,
so
I know people that will probably
maybe
say, "Oh
along the
yeah, I want to go
way,
scuba dive." You know,
right.
I want a free scuba diving trip. I'll say I can go scuba diving to see how hard could it be. Next thing you know, they're out there, and we have a huge problem on our
Drowning.
hands because there's people. Yeah,
Well,
you know, I absolutely see that.
well,
Well,
I
yeah, but
know
that
the
you have to prove it. You have to have certification that you've had instruction and passed the instruction. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as we have some sort of way to prove that these guys actually know what they're doing, then we're good.
yeah, for and not just for diving, but for anything that requires for anything to prevent ourselves from being exposed to liability.
Yeah.
These sorts of things we need, whether you're doing
Yep.
that handling glass or sharp objects or anything like that.
Yeah, even for our beach cleanups
That's
on my
what.
website, I have a waiver, a waiver of liability. That they have to sign if they want to participate. It's just,
Yeah.
simplest thing saying, yeah, if you guys happen to cut yourself picking up something stupid, then don't blame me.
Mhm.
maybe just
Okay, so
having
that
a waiver for any of our excursions or any of our field trips as well.
Yeah.
okay. I'll include that. I'll include that note here. That's a really important point.
Yeah, definitely
Really
in the
important
Sue
point. Thank
happy
you.
age that we're in.
Just for the record, like if there are day trips, say it's not necessary for you to have a scuba diving license, they teach you the basics, and you're not getting certified, you're not even getting credit for your PADI, but you just kind of get a kind of like a taster, of what it is to scuba dive. And they also have different types of like ways that you can be under the ocean like that. I honestly, I can't think right now, it's kind of late, but it's it's like the kind of like the hose that's attached to the shore, like up like on the
Oh, I know
boat.
what you're
And
talking about.
you know what I'm talking about? They have that a lot, and you just put a weight belt,
Yeah.
and so that you're at
Yeah.
the bottom, have somewhat of an experience what it is. And so it's more shallow, these are all shallow dives. It's not like we're going to be diving at 60 feet,
Well, maybe. Let's make all sorts of wild assumptions and then state them and think about them. But maybe we go dive the big blue hole, right, once a year, right? Like, which is actually something we should think about. We can do monthly awards we can do a monthly award, right? We think about the leaderboard. So the claim mechanisms maybe require this leaderboard, but we can do a monthly anytime reward, a monthly reward, which is from the leaderboard competition, a quarterly reward, and then like a yearly retreat. And some of the people that make it up to the top of the leaderboard, they automatically earn like NFTs, membership to the Blue Economy Foundation, membership, invitations to our monthly meetups, and whatever, right? Something like that. And then on the scuba stuff, like it's actually there's a lot of friction there, and it's very expensive. So if we can find some scuba diving instructors to train, maybe to offer in-kind donation of their time to train people to get scuba certified, that could go a long way, probably. And saying, all right, let's say that Garrett's never been scuba diving, right? But Garrett is the number one. He's the host. He's an organizer. He's a validator. He's a creator. He's basically like, let's say he's the leaderboard for Fort Lauderdale, right? He's like number one. But Garrett doesn't scuba dive. But
No, he does not.
let's say Silvio and Priscilla go scuba diving, but let's say Lloyd also doesn't, but he's also at the top of the list. So what we can do is we can still go towards the same trip, and maybe like Garrett and Lloyd can't scuba, but they can snorkel. So that's one of the operational ways is like, the snorkeling. But then from there, they're like, shit, man, you know what? I want to be able to get scuba certified. So you can now claim some of your oceans tokens for a scuba class, right? So I wrote scuba certification training in there, and I could try to. We can probably pull that off. I think this is all kind of fairly doable. Doesn't really cost too much. Just ask, right, the right folks. Hey, these are all really good. I think about these rewards, some of these actions, and then thinking about the mechanisms for claiming. All right. Do we want to take a pause there and maybe Lloyd, do you have any comments on technical integrations or anything else you think might be needed here? If for some of this, maybe or if someone can connect later with Pravi, think about some of the next steps. For the meantime, let me go ahead and send the email out to the tech team for the tokens. and to try to get an admin. I'll go ahead and stop share screen. Anyone want to comment, put something in the whiteboard, you're welcome to. Let's go ahead and close that off. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a little pause there.
Sounds like a plan. Everybody, it was a pleasure talking to you like always. Looking forward to working with everybody some more, and everybody have a great night.
Awesome. Thanks, Garrett. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave the line open and put a pause on the recording and the streaming, or maybe I'll put a pause for.
Have a great night, everybody. I'm getting off.
Good night, Garrett. Okay, well, you know, a little bit further every day.
Yeah, Sylvia, I'll send you a file, a zip of several different ideas on marketing and building a tribe, building a community. It has several things that I think are going to be pretty interesting, especially with regards to this.
That's a great point. Actually, we had Garrett made some points to some things he wants to do on the community side. So he's kind of volunteered to be part of like lead a community engagement like committee.
Yep.
You know, to your point, and try to help help with the communications to make sure it like makes sense. It's simple. Like when he showed up to the Collabothon, he was pretty hard on saying, hey, you know, how does this save Miami? Like he goes, how does it save people? Right? Like he was asking like very basic but very important pointed questions. And I really appreciated that, right? To help us sort of ground these things in very like straightforward layman terms type conversations. But we do need a strategy. So if you have some best practices actually around that, you know, please, if you can share it, that'll be wonderful. We can go and drop it in the link. Sunny will be sending some docs talking about community building strategies. And we have, just by the way, we have now more like over 300 people that have signed up to be part of our Logos Blue Economy Club on LinkedIn. And
Nice.
so there's a strong community there, community of interest that's very interested in supporting this kind of stuff. So we should think about, you know, I stopped having the bi-weekly meetings. We should think of reactivating those maybe if not bi-weekly on a monthly basis. And then within those Blue Economy monthly meetings, people break up into different working groups. And that can, like, after this MVP in the sprint, we have enough progress going, then we can just keep a consistent monthly, right? Maybe management schedule or whatever, and break up into different teams, have whoever does the review, whoever the guest speaker is for the month, talk about their solution, like a bit of a workshop. We give some of our updates and our members updates for the month, talk about the next month and some of the things that we want to let others know about the month ahead, and then sort of break out into working groups, you know, from there to wrap up sort of like the meetings. So we keep things going. All right. Paul has been working on some things on the visualization side for the Blue Economy. Paul, do you see that you're there? I don't know if you have.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. I've just been doing some research into Esri. Sorry, for the Unity and Unreal, and I'm kind of a beginner at this part of things, but I think that, yeah, we need an API key to connect all the accounts with a paid Esri account, at least with Unity and maybe Unreal. But I think there might be some third party applications or integrations for Unity too. For a Blender, it's free. I can do everything for free. So I might just stick to Blender to bring in data. And in terms of the WebXR type of stuff, I think that we can do obviously for free as well. It's just tapping into the right third-party integrations.
I'm gonna just record that as a quick update, Paul. You're
Okay,
gonna-
so I was just saying that I was doing some light research, and Esri has some excellent tools for Unity. They just require a professional account, a paid account. And we just if someone does have one, we just have to connect a public API key to that account. So far so good. It seems like they have a great set of tools that's going to be efficient for us to create a demo of Miami. With any type of weather conditions, or more importantly, with simulations of what could happen if the weather gets worse and worse. And I think we can also host it from there to WebGL or WebXR and Ozone somehow. And it seems like it's not going to be as difficult as I thought with at least with Unity and Unreal. I don't know about, I haven't tried Unreal, but it seems like the same kind of set of tools will work for both platforms. And yeah, we're gonna start with the flooding data as you wanted, like water. Let's say the water digital twin layer. And then I want to see how we can, once we go to Fireflies and we'll scan the line a little bit, we'll use that as an experiment for the tree planting, even though we already have the data already with the folks who brought that tree app. So I think it's just tapping into the database and then having maybe a map, two Unity maps, one for the water simulation, one for the trees, and connecting that to the digital twin layers of corresponding aspects. I think that, but it's going well. With augmented reality, also I think with obviously with what Lloyd is building with the spatial browser, I think it's just connecting everything and just having a website, a database, a website where we just have correspondence of all these things to show that we can build this MVP. And once we have the resources to do it, that's when we can get super serious about it. And so we could start writing content and code for this, that with Oracle and with NVIDIA, with all these things and so forth. And NVIDIA too, I'm going to start looking into Omniverse tomorrow, see how we can visualize with that, which I think is could be the MVP here. At least it's to get the resources we need to build out everything else. I think NVIDIA definitely is because of their, it's pretty much a simulation metaverse. So it would be really amazing to use their floating water mechanics. Let's say we could start with one street and show how the street would be flooded, or show what progress we can have if we start planting trees here and so forth. So I think it's important to show the examples, at a very micro scale level, street by street, so that we can scale up and we can offer the citizens of each street that we can show them the simulation, I guess, or we can give them access to the app and so forth, and see how we can, accomplish this task by task, step by step.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'm happy to hear that it's easier than you thought originally, from looking into it. Sorry, I'll cut you off. You wanted to say something else?
Let's see, but yeah, there's also some software that was recommended by the Future Vision gentleman, which I'm going to share here. It's almost like, it's not a Unity or Unreal, but it's almost like its own standalone software. And and it's looking really good. Like there's a lot of good software out there these days for this that it's coming out at the right time for us to be able to, you know, we're all experts here, but
you a TikTok.
to engage also the users and anyone city. So it's looking better and better and more simpler.
Your microphone was cutting it cut a little out there, but yeah, it's basically looking better and simpler as you keep making progress. So great work on that, man.
Thanks, man.
Alfonso,
Sorry about that. Here's the links.
Alfonso, you want to comment on anything there? Lloyd, do you want to? I know that you're a bit of an Esri expert, ArcGIS expert yourself, on some of these best practices or something you guys want to. You have any thoughts or suggestions there?
I definitely want to jump in and start using some of the stuff Paul's figuring out, but we can go with, it seems that we can use Mapbox as a substitute for Esri. They have a plugin or an API that you can use with a free account. I don't know how many number of requests you can have. That I'm sure they throttled it at some point, but at least initially we can use it for free. And they have there are plugins available for both Unreal Engine and Unity. So
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'll try it out.
Yeah, Mapbox is pretty cool. The free account is not very useful. So you end up paying. But their plugins are great. They're very drop in, easy to use. If it's not a problem, we can set up a Mapbox account. But once you start using this at city scale, you need a paid account. But to play around with, on your local machine, it's fine for free.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Definitely, I'll see how it looks. Really intuitive, and yeah, definitely, I think this could work better. Regardless,
and maybe that will provide an incentive for Esri to open up their API for us for free or for less. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever wants to play along.
Yeah, yep. For sure. I know I could probably reach out to someone at Esri. I've worked with them for a long time. They're pretty, they're pretty good when you're doing community projects, as far as giving help. But at any rate, we can take their API and integrate it into any map, or backend. Just identifying your requirements. Their API is very robust. They have quite extensive outputs of data types that you can use for accessing their data.
Great. Okay, thanks for some of the links in here.
That sounds great. Yeah, Mapbox looks amazing. I definitely think it's a robust set of tools, and I think it's just like seeing who can play along with us. Who wants to play along. But it looks great. I see that Mapbox is definitely working with a lot of industry leaders, so it seems to be an easier solution, I think.
Yeah, Mapbox is definitely the easiest to use out of all the mapping tools, and but they just charge, they want their money. If you don't pay them, they'll cut you off. So
I feel you. Okay, let's see how it goes. I'll look into Mapbox and try to, even if it's a paid account, I might be able to put some pay it for a month. It looks really interesting.
Yeah, I think the highest bill I ever had was probably a couple $100 a month, but that was for a map that was running, 1,000, 100, 500 to 1,000 map hits a day on. So we won't be doing that many.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go. I mean, hopefully we have that many hits a month.
Yeah, we would cache it or something like that, so we don't have to hit them for every single request.
Yeah, the Mapbox, they it's funny how they have their calls. Like when you use the map on your application, they charge you. So, you know, even if we're using the API or whatever, if you pull a Mapbox map into your application, they charge you per hit, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we can cache the data so that the requests from the mobile device comes to the server, and we can cache that information so that repeated hits for the same data only gets requested once every day or every 8 hours or something like that, to reduce the number of requests that we pass on to the source, whether it's Mapbox or Esri, will reduce the number of requests we make to them.
Okay.
Yeah, they do have a caching service, and it's a bit tricky to set up. But yeah, that's I believe, I don't know if they still have it, but it's been a while since I used Mapbox. But they when you link up a data source to Mapbox, it basically, like, whatever your original data source is, it acts as a proxy, right? So they've really they've really done a good job of monetizing their their tools, you know, so that they know when you're using it. And it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky to get around, but you can hack it. You know, everything can be hacked. You know. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess let's set it up with Mapbox, or let's see what works. If you guys think Mapbox is better out of the bat, then I guess let's go with it. Or if you think we should just alternate between both, and then we set up that cache option for now. That seems, like you said, difficult. So I think if I can sit down with you, then maybe we can figure it out. And with Alfonso too, if you come into Fireflies. Or
Sure.
I can't, because I would love to, but I'm in Tallahassee, in the Tallahassee area, so
yeah, that's
I
pretty
can't be
far.
in person. Yeah, that's a long commute, and so for the time being,
Well, I guess for
I'll
the
have to
visualization
help you
side,
remotely.
sure, definitely. I guess it's just seeing what with Unity and Unreal, like, you know, it seems like both can work with Unreal and Unity. So I think it's just seeing which one is easier to. It's gonna be less on of an expense, right? I mean, we're gonna both have to pay for either or, but we can set up that hacker the cache option. Which one is gonna be the simplest one, or which one do we? It seems like Esri seems to be more of a. I'm just more of an education, you know, a database type of approach, I guess, more of an institutional play. So, like, I think we should just go with both, like we're doing with everything else. I don't know.
Yeah, just to try it out.
Yeah, Mapbox is great. Esri, as far as like mapping tools, like embeddable mapping tools, they've come a long way from what they used to have, but they still got they're kind of like in last place still compared to Mapbox or Google Maps or Leaflet or these other ones. But yeah.
Let's go. Let's go with Mapbox. What do you think, Sylvia?
Yeah, I think that we need to go with Mapbox probably. If it sounds like all three of you made the recommendation to explore Mapbox, so we should explore it, because we need to get the data of, like, if there is an economic cost for running this, and we should just like document that as part of our process. We tried this is our cost. We tried that, this is our cost. Now, Esri and ArcGIS, I believe we do have a premium account or a paid account through the community, where we need to pull information. We can see how we can ask the county to help us create a pool. and have them cover that cost. Or I can try to get permission to use my researcher account, a premium researcher account at FIU, and see how maybe the research that I'm doing there, and that can maybe pull into the Miamiverse, which is a bit of the game that I think that's something we were talking about collaborating with anyway, with the RDF, the Digital Robotics and Fabrication Lab there, and some of their goals just to educate the public with what the Institute of Environment is doing. So that could be another route. I'm not sure, but at least it'd be good to understand the economics, right, of these two decisions or the limitations. And if we can
Sure.
document that, I think that would be part of our sort of scientific process. Is let's go ahead and say, okay, we considered these options and we did these options, and these are the operational costs and, like, let's say strengths and weaknesses or whatever, this one versus that one versus that one.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a cost sheet analysis if you want.
Just so when we present our work, we're able to say this is why we did this decision and not that one, for example.
Makes sense.
But I really don't know about Mapbox. Lloyd, what's the difference between ArcGIS and Mapbox? Is it different types of data, different standards, or?
Mapbox is just a mapping tool. It's not a data service. They have plugins for plugging in your data set, wherever it is. ArcGIS is Esri's GIS database, so it's a database first, and they have a built-in mapping component to it that you can embed, but it's not very performant in the browser in mobile.
That's I think pretty important here is how quickly do we refresh data and pull data into like a mobile augmented reality game, for example, and how often, and when we tag data or metadata, how do we optimize a mobile experience to then be able to maybe act, either across the edge with the edge computing that exists around the county, or do we process it at the phone level and then pass it back up to the cloud?
Well,
Those are
yeah.
some details
So we do have cache layers, that we can set up through Cloudflare, et cetera, that caches the data. Because the data are an open data, all the data, well, most of the data is open data sets. It doesn't cost anything to pull the data, like to query the data from the Esri database. So our main costs on the compute side is just comes with what the data set is, how often it's updated, right? So if it's a daily update or if it's something that's updated less frequently, right? We just set our cache to update that way, so we aren't DDoSing ArcGIS just by sending unnecessary requests for data over and over. So
do we need to optimize like the information? This is our community ArcGIS account. How do we add this? How do we add some information? Is it the metadata, or how do we make use of this, for example?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that community thing. That's something new that they got. But again, the data is being pulled through the API, ArcGIS API. So the sources of the data is all coming from the same place. So, in the nitty gritty back end, the source is the same, whether it's this community thing or the open data. This community portal seems to be just like a way to kind of like pick the data sets that you're interested in and kind of follow them, I guess, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Make sense?
You're gonna say, Paul?
I mean, I think like we just have to start with one specific target. Like, I don't know what's the specific topic, but if it's all coming from one source, ArcGIS, let's just pick one. Like, let's say, like, how many bikes are there? I just make an example. How many
Yeah.
bikes are here and here, and from there, just take that. That's how, yeah. Which I think if we already have the tree data from that app, I think we can, like, maybe it could be, I don't know, a flood data. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert.
There's
You know,
definitely flood data here.
So
So
maybe
this-
we just cache the pull request, just one time a day or one time a week we pull it,
No, so did I just create a layer here? Data layer. Add a layer style for beach. So we can have this, talking about the beach cleanup, right?
Yeah, I think the beach is a good one since, it's like, it's next to the seawall. It's just, I think that's a good start. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And we can just do a comparative analysis between this and Mapbox for the beach, and maybe just choose one beach, right? Maybe South Beach, or I don't know.
Oh, look, there's a heat map here. There might be different maps and visualizers that are necessary for different goals. In this case, coordinating
Yeah.
effort in the map and the beaches that, like, less people go to. So if it's a beach that has a higher heat map, it's something to think about. But just thinking about what they were saying earlier would be helpful. So I can bookmark this. Say add bookmark. Beach heat map. And add say air quality. Water quality. Yeah, etc. And then try to overlay them. Maybe there's a way for us to contribute data.
There is for Mapbox uses OpenStreetMap,
Oh yeah.
and that's a community-based mapping database, GIS database.
Right.
So Mapbox doesn't use ArcGIS, right? Or does it?
No.
You still use it? Oh no, it's true.
No, Mapbox doesn't. But they have a this thing called data source, I think. But you can plug in whatever data source you want, including ArcGIS.
Oh, well, that's
Oh.
great. Yeah, I mean, it looks also, it has augmented reality. I mean, I don't know if we want to use theirs, but at least they're thinking ways that kind of similar to where we're going. Not sure, but yeah. Not sure.
Okay. I guess that's kind of the ultimate thing is how do we leverage as much of the open source as we can to understand sort of what the implications are of what we need to make here or how we're going to make it. Maybe the bare bones, but I think we need to upload data. For example, like when we capture a picture of the trash, we need to push that somewhere. No, we can say this much area had this much trash, and then we can quantify it and put it maybe in the OpenStreetMaps.
No. Yeah, we would use I guess another service that we would collect the information, and then we may be able to. I don't know
Yeah.
that we would want to share the pollution data with
Right. Right. Yeah.
OpenStreetMap or OSM.
Right.
But,
We would probably spin up our own Postgres server and store it there.
Yep.
Do we how do we think about the the soft data points, right? The psychological data points for this game to work. Like how did it make you feel, or how many people did you invite, or something like that? Should we just focus on the visual elements of this? Could we take a picture and like geotag the pictures that we take for that area, so other people are able to use OpenStreetMaps later? I'll go ahead and look into it more.
Yeah, I think every data point we collect will have a location aspect to it. So, you know, we'll have location in addition to the data itself.
Okay. All right. So maybe we'll zoom in on we'll double click on a couple of basic stuff like the beach viewer. Not sure exactly how we can add the beach viewer, the heat map, different layers to some of this stuff. But
Yeah, I think it's great starting out with the beach. It's gonna get people motivated to go out and pick up the trash, and it's fun, and it's like almost like an origin point. It's gonna, everyone cares about the beach in Miami, I feel.
Blue economy, oceans game.
and all of that's basically just a question of visualization. Once we have the data, we can represent it in many different ways. So, I mean, we can represent pollution as, little monsters, or, or some horrendous thing that people want to eliminate. So, then they get credit for eliminating them, whatever. Finding, eliminating, disposing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's very cool. Like, let's say you see like a bunch of monsters. Every time I don't know, you pick up the trash, the monster gets eliminated or something, like Ghostbusters or something.
Mhm.
Well, one of the things that you can get a premium is, let's say that you do the cleanup, right? And this is a little bit, somewhat controversial. It's a topic to be known. I don't know if I got into it later, but it's identification. So we can say, look, we took an inventory of the plastic that we cleaned up. And some people do this because they don't do this because they're paid by the people that sponsor the cleanups, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. But then they tag 75% of the information of the trash was from Pepsi, or 75% of the trash was from Coca-Cola, or 10% or 50% of it was fishing nets from this company, or whatever, you know what I mean? Right. Like there could be an additional incentive for every additional layer. But that gets a little controversial, but I think it's going to be pretty relevant data, especially for us in Miami. And then like plastics credits are one thing. What about styrofoam? Right? Like that we can get data around styrofoam, you should be able to earn oceans tokens. Styrofoam right now is illegal. We can't ban it in Miami. We're kind of preempted from banning it because of Tallahassee. So something to think about.
Yeah, that I think we have the drop off points where people take the trash and get it verified, or weighed or whatever. And those statistics then we can gather and do that on.
Yeah, makes sense. Anything that's like not politically, anything that's political, I hate politics, but in some way or another, it can help us grow, have more exposure. And so that sense
Yeah.
of just a styrofoam, I mean, I think it's ridiculous that's not banned. It's like just, whatever, but it's gonna get people heated up, so it's good.
And then one of the important things is how, as we, in order to increase awareness, we need to find people that this is the pollution and the quality of the water and air, those that are affected by it, um, health wise or economically, or people who aesthetically, people just think it's an eyesore. If we can find and bring these people, attract them into our community and using the app, then they tend to become more vocal to others, their friends and families, about, hey, don't throw that in there. That I've got COPD and you're throwing that in the water or something like that. You're polluting the air. What's wrong with you? That sort of thing. So the more we point out that their health crisis is a result of human activity, then they're more likely to become vocal about it.
And that's something that I want to be able to reward too, right? How do we, like, those social actions, that stuff counts.
Yep. Well, you'll see some stuff there in the tribal documents about that. There's, I don't, I'm sure you've heard of the R type thing. I forgot what the 5 letters are. Let's see if I can get it up
No, what is that?
now.
Recycle and something. I don't know.
Oh, reduce, reuse, recycle.
No. It's the there are 5 R's that are used for growth hacking: acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue.
Huh.
And acquiring new users or new members, people who just have like a casual interest, then activating them and having them become engaged members of the tribe, and then retaining them with repeated real life activity or online activity. If they, maybe they can't participate for whatever reason, but then they physically, but they can, make music, or they create social media content that we can share, put on our different channels. We can um, have people who are sponsors. There's different roles that are available within the tribe, and so we engage with people at different levels depending on what they are best suited for and what they can do. Then that's how you grow the tribe, and you want the people that are really, really emotional or passionate about it, so they will help drive other things.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of people in Miami like that, especially with Cahill and his community. I think they're like, apart from growing the team as a team exercise, I think let's engage these types of folks, and a lot of them are in these events that they're passionate about it. They'll go out every week to a drum circle, and if they see that there's a unified front, I'm pretty sure it's gonna light up.
Yep.
And on a simple level, let's say on the simplest way I think we can describe this to the layman, I think it's to say it's Pokemon Go, but you pick up the trash. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yep.
it's an experience that's like that addicting, and it'll get people wanting to go to these events every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think we need to, like, one of the things that Dave Dobler suggested is make sure it's not just about coordinating, like, or that the weight doesn't fall like a one person just picking up trash, but you incorporate these other sort of social elements of how do you feel, how does it make you feel, how does it make you more conscious, how can you change your actions, how do you change some more behavior, how do you, like, maybe you're rewarded because, like, you come around and like, for example, I walk around with a straw, right? And my straw is a glass straw, right? So every time I use my glass straw, when I go, I don't know, to Starbucks, I should be able to claim a token. You know what I mean? Like just like little things, like little behaviors like that can move the needle over time. As we think about, solutions so that actually you eventually, you don't have to pick one straw up now because you reduced the amount of the straw that you're using. That kind of stuff. But we can always add those details. I think at this point is if we can figure out how to visualize, create a way to integrate the game with the visualization of the Miamiverse somehow, more and more to maybe prioritize how we even play the game or interact with the game or figure out what heat maps we get.
Well, I don't know about the that part. I mean, obviously here Lloyd and Alfonso know way more, and but I feel that the gamification element for augmented reality is really, I think with Niantic maybe we can have a discussion.
Okay.
Because I don't, they already seem to have a good idea on all these things, and I don't know, since they're coming out with a new title on May called Peridot, and I don't know, at least for the gameplay mechanics, I know that their light bridge is excellent. You know, in terms of the gamification, I don't know how far you can take these visualization engines and put gameplay mechanics. I'm not sure. But I think with Niantic, it's an excellent idea. And for them, it would look really good, obviously, for a company like that to be part of this somehow. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to connect Niantic and Esri or Mapbox, but I wouldn't think it's too difficult. You know, with seeing how many tool sets there are for Unity and Unreal for these types of things. And in terms of the metaverse layer, let's say Ozone, it would be I want to get Jay from Ozone on this conversation so we can just create the gameplay mechanics for that part. And it shouldn't be too hard to replicate this across Ozone as long as we have direct access to Jay and his engineers, which I would love to introduce to Lloyd and Alfonso, because there's a lot of good progress we can make here if you guys want.
Absolutely.
And Unity is good. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, gameplay wise, I mean, I think Pokemon Go does an awesome job at illustrating how, I mean, have you looked at A-Hole's metaverse? Because from what I saw, I didn't really see I saw an Instagram kind of account, and then he puts out these rewards, right? Say you don't pick this up or something.
No, that's another call. That's another thing another call we need to have.
Because he's already picking up trash and shit, but maybe we could just plug in his community with what we have. I don't think he has.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm trying to do is try to give his project some more visibility. And I think that's one way that we can do it. I can I'll put you in touch. I'll see if I can get him on a call.
All
right.
Also the blockchain aspect, but I don't know if we should go that deep, but I think maybe that's something worth, I don't know.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, I mean, it's definitely worth thinking about. If early development, how do we connect the blockchain to all this? I'm not sure. I think with Unity, there is blockchain, you know, plugins from Third Web, smart contracts and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Daniel has a good knowledge feel on that. But I don't know. With Ozone, we do have geolocation and multi-chain capabilities, but I don't know.
Lloyd, do you have some thoughts on this? Alfonso?
I think we have enough on our plate right now that we need to figure out how to make this usable and enjoyable first, and then add in blockchain and Web3 at a future time.
Yeah,
because we have enough activities right now that we don't need to overcomplicate it or add more functionality. and those things still have to be, some things still have to be worked out with those technologies. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we could leave it off to a the future thing. One thing I'm doing now is activating blockchain use case in Philadelphia with the police department there, where I'm taking the public data and making it available on chain, which is useful for things like building a chat bot where you can verify the sources of data that are used for that particular chatbot. Everything's on chain, and there's a few other use cases which I can share. The one pager uh, I've put together for the politicians there in Philadelphia in the state. But yeah, down the line, that's something to think about for sure.
Okay, sounds good.
So I think that my first thought, Paul, on the way to do that is that we can include the Web3. We're probably gonna include the decentralization and Web3 part of the computational power and the smart city infrastructure and the climate data and all this stuff. The way that we're gonna set it up now will probably be just the Web2 focus, but the Web2 focus the way that we set it up on the Web2 will point towards where the data needs to be before we bring it on chain. And then we start doing some of the automation of the on-chain function, just like we're doing the training of the data for the AI for our chatbot. We need to think about that, right? So it's just like let's just organize the data Web2 style, and then we'll maybe the next sprint we'll bring some of the data sort of on chain, right, and be able to create that verification. Right? It's still Web2, but maybe not everything needs to be Web3, but maybe the actions that you do in the Miamiverse, those actions and those validations and the confirmations to certify, those become a Web3 mechanism or bridge between the two, so that there's a verifiability of that provenance, but not everything. You know what I mean? We say, okay, well, that's maybe that mechanism for confirmation, validation, interaction, unlocking, identification, NFT, like toward the end of the day, okay, now this is my results for the game, that gets uploaded, right? But maybe it's not constantly. You just, okay, when you're done for the game with the game for the day, then you upload the information, and then that finalization of the game becomes at that point you have an on-chain validation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, it's just we leave it for later and simply connect things.
Yeah, it becomes useful, by providing city agencies the ability to, provide a verified signature that that the data source is coming from them and blah blah blah. But for now, we just do what we do right now.
Here's wind data.
Makes sense. Either way, we're gonna know how to do it, and it's not gonna be the focus, but yeah, like it makes sense. I know with Ozone, it's just plug and play, and doesn't seem like you guys are the experts at the integration of this, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so you might want to include on the roadmap, Paul, a mechanism that looks into an on-chain actions or action points we want to create through the game, right, into the Miamiverse, and then what are those, and then when you hit that action, you create this on-chain mechanism, and one of those things is off-chain data, bringing off-chain data on-chain.
Okay.
Okay. And that could be, look at Chainlink for that. Chainlink and Filecoin for storing that data.
Okay.
And Galina from Niantic also, let's maybe write these questions out, and I'll use that to connect an email together to follow up.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that can be isolated into the data store whenever we have to store or access information. we can have a section of the code where we can deter that's just responsible for managing the data. And then once we want to hook that in to the chain, that would be the only part that would change in order to support it. So that would be easier to integrate into the, when we're comfortable and confident enough with the system to plug it in.
Yeah, 100%. And Niantic probably has this in mind too. So I think,
Yeah. Well, that's the way you do. When you have cross-platform development, you should try to isolate things as much as possible so that you can make it handled on different platforms very easily.
yeah, 100%. Hello?
Yeah. I don't know what's next, Sylvia.
Next is I think next is just I guess there was a mapping exercise that Douglas was going to have with Daniel on project management and deliverables of everybody, like who's doing what, just to map out who was doing what and in what time we can get some of this stuff done. And thank you for joining some of the sort of this oceans blue economy, like the blue team conversation for today. I think we need to think of just that, like how do we use maybe AR if we use AR Miami, and this is a question maybe for Paul. Does it make sense to use AR Miami as like a solution right now just because it's in the App Store? So we add some of the QR codes in these different places, depending on if it's a green economy game or a blue economy game, or if it's a transportation game, where do we when we scan, how do we activate that? Or what's the app that we want to ask to be downloaded, or do we create another meta, like a super app that AR Miami plugs into? I'm not sure that part of how we do that. Do we have a Save Miami app that plugs into, and then that becomes the 3 layers of green economy, blue economy, transportation reduction, gaming. That part is kind of still an open-ended question on my part. I'm not sure how to solve for that operational piece, that logistical piece of how all of this fits together later.
Well, we need to talk with Juan and see what's behind his architecture and see what's doable and what's not. But I think in general, I think we definitely need to have our own Save Miami mobile app. Because there's so many other features that I know are going to be very difficult to. But I think AR Miami it's a part of it. In the sense of getting, the trash cleanup could be a good idea. But what do you guys think? Because I know AR Miami is Unity based with databases, so I think if we're able to help connect it to some of these information, it could happen. But I'm not sure if it's the best way to go. Not sure if Unity AR is the best way to go.
Yeah, I don't know either. And Unity mentioned that the people from Unity, when they came and they gave their presentation at Emerge, they were like, if anybody understands the challenges of having multiple players coordinate real-time data in AR, it's like ultimate, technical challenge kind of stuff, right?
Well,
and I really couldn't appreciate that point, because I would say I don't understand the nitty-gritty of how the architecture works for AR to function well, and to understand really what the sort of weight of what she was describing or why.
I don't know, Lloyd. What do you think would work better with those glasses that you have? Like,
I think thinking about something for Lloyd's classes is like a practical, maybe help simplify the thought process, and maybe if we think about HoloLens or Magic Leap as other potential aspects, but we definitely want to, think about Lloyd's product because we can 3D print it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So like one of the things that one of the reasons behind the spatial browser is to help solve this challenge. Everybody seems to be trying to figure this out. Real time data in AR, which it's not complicated. It's really not. It's just no one has a standard on how to do it. So it's just
That's why I think if we have a connection to Niantic, like maybe we could solve that problem with them. And I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, depends on what their deal is. But
Yeah.
they're not the only player in town. I like to find I don't like to get in bed with too many people as far as when it comes to this type of thing. But if they're a lot, because they have a corporate, they're a corporation, so they have their own interests. But yeah, when it comes down to it, figuring this out, if we can put our heads together and it just you just gotta do it. And it's nothing to it but to do it. Really. There's no one's done it yet.
Yeah, I think that maybe we should think about this more at Fireflies and see but they do have their own interests. But maybe we can create that standard and see which company wants to work with it.
Yep.
I think that's maybe the better route, but yeah. The good news is there's not a standard for it. So we can
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Right,
also a big challenge, but it seems to be where I keep running into this issue in like every different field of like that I'm trying to interoperate together is the way that we enable that interoperation is there's no standard for it. It's like in like everything, in like climate and in blockchain and AI. Like, I mean, it's kind of silly, but it is what it is.
Because of the corporate nature of the industry, but it might not be as difficult as it sounds, that's what I'm saying.
That's true.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not at all. Prototyping this is not. It's not something it's something we could do. With relative ease. With it's enough real time data protocols for us to make this work. So, like I said, ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's do it then. Yes, absolutely. Maybe you can have a layer on the beach, the AR layer, let's say, and just try it out on the beach, or Fireflies.
Should we push this? I mean, do we want to try to maybe go Saturday, see who's able to go? Maybe it's me, to go spend some time with Sophie Ringel and see how they run their operations with Clean Miami Beach to get more insights from these notes. And maybe we focus on the deliverable. Maybe we like get the MVP rolling or get onboarded with our Oceans token, but we can kick it off till a little bit later and just focus on the tree planting game and the transportation. We're sort of building the blue team, but maybe it's a little more complicated than just tree planting component of it. I don't know how much we might be able to do something basic from here to Saturday. Maybe we'll see what building into the blue team and see how things look from here to tomorrow.
Let's see what we can cover this weekend and to that tomorrow.
Right.
I think you know the way, my friend.
Yeah. What switching gears to that exact point, how are we, Lloyd? How are we looking on the chat feature for interacting with the data?
Pretty good. So I've been testing out.
Are you by your computer? Are you able to maybe give a little walkthrough or a little share screen on?
Not at the moment.
No? Okay.
But right now, just providing the data into open AI. They got a number of different sort of ways that you can do it.
What about
It's the-
anything on Lang, like the LangChain way of being able to take documents and like from like large form PDFs and documents and be able to chunk them down into pieces?
Right. Yeah, they got yeah, there's a couple different ways to do it. You know, their API is still evolving, open API, open AI. So their latest, you know, I'm using GPT-4, so it's a lot better. Like, you know, they wrote a lot of their previous code for GPT-3, but GPT-4 has a little bit better support for this type of thing. So yeah, I've been testing the GPT-4, and then the that, you know, we load the data into a vector database. So, you know, effectively, you know, I'm loading the query data. So the way it works, you like, okay, let's say you want to see trees in a certain zip code. It'll query the tree data and then pull it into the vector database, and then it becomes a
I don't know if I got, can you run that last part of me? We pull what into the database? Lloyd, I think we lost Lloyd.
I think he was saying planting the tree data based on the zip code.
I see. I see.
And it uses you know, it uses some way to get location of it, and using the chatbot as a way to find it, I guess. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because then if we do that, and then you know, basically we have the chatbot say, well, where's the closest tree that I should plant? Where's the closest location for me to plant the tree? And then maybe that takes your geotag and figures out where the million trees suggestions we've already suggested are, and it tells you where you should go plant it, or whether or not you need a permit because it's public land versus private land.
Yeah, makes sense. You know, like it could be a fun game where you go plant the tree and you see a cute little character saying, "Oh, help me plant a tree." And basically, you know, you plant the tree, and you know, oceans, what's it, blue economy token, or something that you were saying, you know.
Right.
I don't know, whatever the mechanism is, but yeah, like, it makes sense. I think doing it in events too, like let's say, you know, with Pokemon Go, they have like, you know, a monthly, you know, event or annual event where they, you know, they have all the Pokemon. They say there's a new character out, let's go and chase it. You know, so I think it's important to, how do we get people out of their homes in the first place? You know, get them on that, you know, or what is it if the person's just driving 995 and they see a notification saying, "Oh, in Myanmar Park, there's a tree that needs to be planted. If you go there, you'll get this or something." You know, or there's an event happening naturally. There's barbecue. People will get, you know, free food. You know, just gotta think of the ways. But you know, like I was saying earlier, or whatever. Cahill and all these people, they that's their like business plan. You know, what I mean? Get people out into these types of events or the call.
So yeah, there we go. I hear you better now.
Hello? Yeah, I was just saying that, you know, the majority, either we get people to go,
What?
you know,
You throw out the trash for utilities. When you throw out bulk trash, it's for
Yeah.
yeah, you know. With Doug, we have a great way to get people to want to go to these events and what activities and so forth.
Mhm. Okay. Alrighty. Well, we have gone long. Let me go ahead and turn this, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the live stream and recording off, so we keep some alpha to ourselves here. A second. Let's do. Recording. And then stop live stream. We're gonna keep the meeting going, but the live stream is stopping. If you wanna stay tuned and know more